island leaders and fellow youth delegates. My name is DJULUME and I am from Angola, although I have spent a lot of my time in Namibia because that's actually where I grew up. So my experience is actually what motivates me today to create change. So I'm a law student and a media professional, and I'm actually the founder of the Climate Creators Hub, a community for climate change content creators and environmental journalists. I also host an environmental podcast called Sustainable Soundwave Podcast. I aim to use these platforms to amplify the voices of those affected by climate change. Today, I want to share my story and our efforts to actually address climate migration. Angola has faced drought for over 40 years, and recently this problem has gotten even much worse in the past 4 years. Over 30 million people just in Southern Africa are affected, with 1 to 1.5 million of people in Angola that will need humanitarian food assistance by January 2025. So, just like this is actually statistics from a report of Relief Work and People in Need. So families in Southern Angola and Northern Namibia particularly depend on subsistence farming, crop and livestock farming for livelihood. So this particularly subsistence farming, and they are actually subsistence farmers and pastoralists as well. And these people, they are very vulnerable when it comes to climate change, especially drought, especially in Southern Angola, because these people, they depend solely on the land, which has now become dry and very barren. And these people also, they lack access to education. These people lack access to opportunities. Because I grew up, I was born in a very large family in Southern Angola, in Kunene province, and my father had 5 wives. We actually born 26. And my family depends on crop farming and livestock farming for survival. But today that's actually a challenge because of the drought in Southern Angola. And most of us, or most of the people, have to cross the borders into Namibia to come and look for opportunities, to come and look for a better life. So, and out of my 26 siblings, I'm actually the only one who had an opportunity to go to school. And that's because I was taken by my aunt in 2004, who brought me into Namibia. And in Namibia, I had a chance to go to school. I had a home, and I had a family. So, but my other siblings actually who remained in Angola, they remain uneducated. And the older ones were actually sent into Namibia to come and look for a job to be able to provide for the families actually back home. Today, due to the devastating drought that is actually Southern Angola and Northern Namibia, many families, not just my family, are in these similar situations, even worse, crossing the borders into Namibia in search of a better life, often without proper documentations. And this makes it difficult also for the Namibian government also, because they come in as illegal migrants. And they can't be recorded, and they can't also because you can only tell that they are Angolian by the way they dress, by the tribe also they come from, but they don't have documentation that actually say that they are Angolians. So that's also what makes it also difficult. So they arrive there with hopes for a bright future, but actually many end up on the streets. Sadly, the children, you will see them often begging on the streets, also selling goods just to get by. So earlier this year, the Namibian government as well together with the Angolan government, managed to repatriate about 73 people, Angolians, back to Angola, including children. But many have returned again to the street of Namibia. desperately needing help. So these migrant families really faces significant challenges. They often don't have homes, they are homeless, and they struggle to also find jobs or even proper jobs due to the lack of accommodations. Their children have difficulties attending schools and finding stabilities. And many actually feel they do not feel fully belonging either to Angola nor to Angola, which I also isolate them. So as young leaders, we are committed to driving change in our communities with other youth in Namibia, and also with our environmental podcast. We have managed to create educational videos to raise awareness about climate migration, because this term is actually new to most of us, even though we have been experiencing it for a while, the term climate migration. So we also partnered with an indigenous school in Kunene region in Namibia, a school that actually accepts kids from indigenous communities, that allow kids to receive foundational education, kids that don't have documentations, kids that also allow kids to come to school wearing their traditional attires. They don't have to put on uniform, but unfortunately this school had to close down due to funding issues, and also not the kids not also able to also proceed to primary education or to junior education as well. So this really is just showing the urgent need for resources and support to keep these children in school. So we are also currently trying to revive the school, or trying in the process also planning on building a hydroponic garden at the school to create a feeding program, because most of these kids, they are from indigenous communities, and they are from the illegal climate migrants families as well. So they don't really also understand the importance of education, why the kids should go to school, and even the funding also to pay their school fees as well, and all that. So for a lasting change, we believe that it's very, very much important to help these communities to gain skills to adapt to drought. This includes training this community in drought-resistant farming, further production, and also water conservation. Today, I call on the African government, particularly the Angolan and the Namibian government, along with our international partners, to work with us to create effective solutions. Our first goal, we need a climate migration identity program that will give documentations of status to children from affected families, ensuring that they have access to schools, healthcare, regardless of where they are. I know the struggle of growing up without proper documentations, the pains of identity crisis, because I got my birth certificate at the age of 16, and that was actually, I think, 2017. And I grew up without having a community where I belong, because I always had to explain myself, how are you Angolan but you live in Namibia, and always also explain how are you in Namibia but you are also an Angolan. So I know the pain of not having a community, a pain of not belonging anywhere, and a pain where you are also seeing other kids participating in programs and community development, but you can't because you don't have a birth certificate, you don't have an ID, you don't have an identity. So the second one is actually also we need a climate resilient fund for youth initiatives to support youth-led projects and that teach sustainable practices and create job opportunities and in communities affected by climate change. This support will empower young people like us to implement solutions where they are most needed. By adopting those policies, we can offer stability to struggling families and enable young leaders to make meaningful change. As we face the reality of climate migration, let us remember that no one chooses to leave home unless it's a matter of survival. These migrations are not merely about crossing borders. They are about crossing into a future where there is hope, resilience, and opportunities prevail. I believe that as young people, we have the power to change these policies that offer dignity and support to those most affected by climate change. Let us work in hand across generations, across the borders, to build a world where people no longer have to leave their homes to seek safety and a sustainable life. And I thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing your experience, your own journey, for underlining the importance of things like education to bringing about change, and that drive for an identity, which is so valuable. Thank you for sharing that. It's very valuable. It's a gift to all of us here in this room. We move